morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from around the world. Thank you for joining us for this live session, and you are all very welcome. Before we get started, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with video conference technology nowadays, but I just wanted to remind you that we are recording the session and it will be shared to our YouTube channel and social media channels. We've been collecting some questions throughout the week, which we'll be running through with Duncan today. And if you have any additional questions, you can email Duncan directly, and I'll be sharing his email address at the end of the session on screen. He'll obviously get back to you as soon as he can around his other roles and responsibilities. So let's get to it. This is our second session of the day as part of Online Learning Week. And in this session, we'll be uncovering the world of surfaces. Our AVA specialist joining us is Duncan Ross. And Duncan has been with AVA for over 20 years now and has played a huge part in our recent advancements into the world of decorative surfaces. Now, some of you may have seen Duncan's video that we shared earlier in the week as part of Online Learning Week, where he explained a little bit more about what do we mean when we say decorative surfaces. But I'm just going to ask Duncan to firstly quickly introduce himself and give us a bit more information about his career journey. And then secondly, remind us what we mean when we say surfaces.
Hi Jodie, thank you very much for the introduction. Some very nice words. So in terms of my career path at AVA, I studied languages and business at university. And when I left university, I got into the textile and decorative industry. And I worked for a few companies within a group and learnt about the process of design and colour separation and producing textiles and wallpapers. And that was very enjoyable, very rewarding. But the company was starting to go digital in the studio, and they bought a couple of very expensive CAD systems from Belgium, and then they'd come across this new and exciting British company called AVA, and they'd been buying licenses almost on a monthly basis. So I showed some interest in that. And as it turned out, AVA was, as they were becoming more popular, they were looking to recruit more people, and they were looking for linguists. And I happily jumped from the previous employer to AVA, and that was over 20 years ago. And it certainly doesn't feel like 20 years.
Has it been an enjoyable 20 years then, if it's flown by?
Yes, it has, and it's 2 days are never the same. There's always something going on. I enjoy meeting the customers, and the rate at which we change our software is rewarding. It's a fast-changing business. It's really, really rewarding.
Excellent. Could you quickly start off by reminding us what do we mean at AVA when we say surfaces or decorative surfaces?
Yes, we've given this a lot more attention and focus over the last 4 years, I'd say, because we just generally used to group our customers by the market sector they're in, but we saw the growth in surfaces, and we exchanged a few ideas such as natural surfaces, decorative surfaces, and services, the common word being surfaces. But to answer your question, what we mean by services is, first of all, furniture products, so furniture lamination products. So typically if you were to buy an IKEA wardrobe this weekend, it's found to be a laminated surface onto a board. And sometimes that is decorated, sometimes it's a plain colour, and sometimes it's embossed. So with furniture lamination, flooring lamination, so a lot of imitation flooring is done by a number of our customers. So that's a printed material, either laminate paper onto a board or a PVC film onto a particular type of substrate. And then we have, so that's flooring. Then we have the world of wall coverings. So wall coverings tends to refer to commercial wallpaper, and wallpaper made a mistake there. Wallpaper is generally residential, but the generic word that students and the general public refer to is wallpaper. But in the industry, they are two different things. Wallpaper is more residential, so narrow width, 52 centimetre wide widths that you would hang a repeating pattern generally, or a mural. And wall coverings is the commercial term, so it's more the designs you will see in a hotel, in a casino, on a cruise ship, in an office establishment, much wider format and a very much a different flavour of design and colour.
Excellent.
And then we also we are making ourselves known into the ceramics market as well, and those are generally the main areas of what we call surfaces at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. If we just have a quick look at the questions that have been submitted throughout the week, the first one is, what do you think are the biggest challenges right now then for the surfaces industry?
Yeah, well, in industrial terms, the industry is facing problems with supply of raw materials. There's a shortage of PVC for wall coverings and floor coverings. Paper is a bit more readily available. Machine manufacturing problems sourcing spare parts such as semiconductors. But on the design side, generally the challenge is to be creative and innovative with I want to use the phrase non-standard, but I don't wish to offend the surfaces industry. I guess if you learn textile design at university, there's a sort of a broad area of designs and colours you can be creative with. But in surfaces, it is very much recreating a natural product, but recreating it more attractively. Some designs that go into products such as flooring will have natural faults in the file or manufactured faults, just to create some interesting individuality to the product. But I think it's a lot of designers really the penny drops when they work for an employer and they learn about the whole design process and how varied and complex it is, working with textures, working with coordinating embossed structures. It is very different, but extremely rewarding. It's very different to what we call traditional design, but again, it's very rewarding. Some of the creative products that come off the press in surfaces are just mind-blowing, just outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So what's the growth been like within this industry? Has there been any drastic innovations in the last couple of years?
Yes. Oh, yes. Innovations in the surfaces industry would be, first of all, digital print. Mm-hmm. Digital print has been growing in terms of its use and ease of use and popularity by both the printers and the consumer. The digital printing is getting faster, it's getting more versatile, it's allowing a wider colour space, it can print onto a wider range of substrates. There are also machines coming out with inline digital embossing, liquid embossing, which goes onto the print at the same time as the colours. Mm-hmm. And also the phrase haptic printing, mm-hmm. especially in the area of proofing or rapid prototyping. That technology is now at a size that can go into a studio, and with half a day's training, most people can pick up the basics of how to actually design a design with a 3D structure and print it to a haptic printer. So that's a game changer in the industry. Is the arrival or the acceptance of rapid prototyping in the 3D form.
Mm-hmm. What would you say was one of the biggest learning curves when you started to work within the surfaces sectors?
Well, for me personally, there's so many different processes from each company, whether it's a laminate floor to a PVC decorative panel that goes on a door, internal and external doors, the terminology, the technical complexity of producing surfaces. And also for me personally, I've been an AVA person. It's just at the beginning was learning about the process and identifying a need for AVA. Just looking at how a design is scanned, manipulated, developed into a commercial product, and how that is proofed, engraved and printed, and finding the right position for AVA in that workflow. That was a challenge, and also understanding colour and overprinted colour. That is a challenge, particularly if you're used to working with flat colours or designs where you've got clearly identified areas of colour. If you were to pay closer attention to printed flooring or certain types of wall coverings, you'll notice a much more intricate blending of colours, overprinting of colours, and the combining of colours which on their own don't look too attractive, but when you put them together, they create a wow factor. That is certainly a learning curve and a challenge in mastering that and understanding that.
Okay, so you kind of touched on this next question in your last answer when you spoke about the challenges, but can you expand on how CAD or how AVA in particular can help improve a workflow when working with surfaces?
Absolutely. The AVA has a multitude of really attractive, user-friendly and productive tools to help designers and process technicians produce a design accurately, efficiently and with as little waste as possible. However, what we are now these days, AVA is a true integrator. So we're not walking into a studio and asking designers to stop using Photoshop and use AVA. Quite the opposite. We are providing designers with extra tools to complement what they do. So we recognize that Adobe Photoshop has a wide variety of excellent tools which really help designers get the best out of the design. This got beautiful brushes and filters and blending tools and many other nice features as well. But we can exchange files, work very happily side by side with Adobe, and we can do the functions which graphics applications like Photoshop are not designed to do or really struggle to do, such as we can handle huge files very efficiently. We can put designs into a seamless repeat extremely quickly. We can re-engineer a design by separating it into layers and manipulating those layers and making colorways. And of course, everything we do, whenever AVA opens a design, it's always color matching. It's always using the color management to color match a design to the intended output, whether that's an Epson printer in the studio, or it's a haptic printer in the studio, or if it's to a high-speed digital printer or to the rotogravure printing press. It's always showing the operator how this design is going to be printed if we were to press the print command.
That's brilliant. That's a really detailed explanation of some of the benefits of AVA within surfaces. So you've already explained that decorative surfaces or surfaces actually includes a range of industries, from wallpaper to flooring, transport interiors, even ceramics. Do you have a particular industry that you're most interested in? And if so, why?
Well, of course, I have no favourites. I'm interested in them all.
Yeah.
But I'm interested, personally, I'm interested in any industry that produces beautiful designs or really admirable designs. If you can see, as I said, I've mentioned before, if you were to scan in a natural material, even an artificial, like maybe a slab of concrete, but you just how that is manipulated into a commercial product which people are proud to hang or display in their house or office or business, that I admire that. But obviously I have a lot of experience of wallpaper and wall coverings, and I'm always impressed by new collections and how intricate they are, and how, for example, an embossed structure can completely change the appeal of a design. And obviously with wallpapers and wall coverings, they are obviously positioned more in sight within our eye lines. I don't know, you don't generally get on your hands and knees and study a flooring design, even though when you buy it, you're obviously giving it a greater inspection, as well as studying the furniture. But for me personally, I think with wall coverings being in the line of sight and me really appreciating the intricacies of producing wallpapers and wall coverings, I would say that usually grabs, is a natural interest. But obviously, I'm interested in all the processes and all the products.
No, it's funny. I think since I've been at AVA, I've definitely walked into restaurants and pubs and bars and looked at the walls and floors very differently. But you're right, I've not really been on my hands and knees to inspect any laminates yet.
Well, I think the word I should have used through the presentation really is tactile.
Yeah.
With all surfaces products, you can see at trade shows when their new collection's being presented, people just can't, their natural reaction is to go out and just touch it. You do obviously get that with fabrics and other products, but we find, the AVA team and myself, we find it's very noticeable that people are touching a product, especially when it has a structure or an emboss to it. So it's the word tactile. Yeah,
no, that's a good point to add in there at the end. So we've got one more question, unless you wanted to add anything at the end. But we will wrap up on the question. So we find more and more 3D simulation and 3D printing advertised nowadays. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but how are these technologies beneficial to the surfaces industry? So I guess this is similar to your mention of the haptic technology.
Yeah, it is. So the numbers vary, but the whole process of coming up with the concept of a 3D structure, whether it's going to be combined with a solid color background or whether it's going to be combined with a 4-color process, the traditional process of designing, communicating, approving and producing that structure is incredibly long, complicated and expensive. And with the technologies such as our AVA structure simulation software and the haptic printing technology for rapid prototyping, that definitely speeds up the process of exchanging ideas, approving samples, and then giving the engraver, the person who's actually going to produce it, usually with a plate or a cylinder or a digital press, it gives them something accurate and something which they know is a quality file and it's been approved and it's not going to be rejected, and they can process that with confidence. So with the technology in the hands of designers at the beginning of the process, rather than designers trying to communicate ambiguous information or maybe non-technical information to a technical expert, that now can be resolved by people using the 3D technology that we have and our partners have. In the fact that we can say that I produced this sample, that's exactly what I want, or can I just note some minor changes on this digital sample? And then you can share a sample, you can share it with the digital file. So if I was a designer, if I was a flooring designer and I produced the perfect emboss, I can give my supplier a haptic sample which has got color information and an all over feel of the structure, but I can also give them the RGB image, I can give them the height map file as a TIFF file, and any glossy information as well I want to go with it. So in a nutshell, the technology is already in the hands of the technical experts, but in the hands of the designer, it speeds up and the process, it makes things more efficient, and it widens the adoption of 3D in product.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. I don't know if you've got anything else to add, Duncan. I think that was the last of our questions. Are you happy with that?
Yes. Thank you, Jodie.
So I think it's safe to say that Surfaces is a really exciting topic. It's an exciting industry, and we're very grateful that you took the time to share a bit of an insight to what surfaces means and a little bit more detail about everything that's involved with the industry. If anybody does have any questions, I've just put Duncan's email address on the screen there for you. You can email him direct, or you can send us a message directly through our social platforms, and we can pass that on to Duncan. But thank you again, Duncan, for your time, and thank you for everybody who's taken the time to watch this live Q&A.